Hello, everyone. I'm Austin Light with American Demon Comics, and this is my friend Brandon with Disney Comics, and we are here to talk about Alien Romulus. Um, we have both now watched it, and I believe uh, Brandon finds it to be mid, and I find it to be pretty dang good, pretty
And
high on the okay scale.
I think that's where this this all our reviews have been interesting. But I think this will be interesting because this is the first time. It's not a big disagreement. It's not like I hate the movie. I actually
Mhm.
like some parts of the movie, a good chunk of the movie. This is the first time where we are differing in our opinion on this.
Yes. Um, if oh, I don't know if I should score it yet. We'll talk about it. But I think right off the bat, let's start with how it starts out. Um, Very interesting premise. Colony set up. Oh, by the way, there's gonna be spoilers. You're
Yes,
here
yes.
to hear a no spoiler review.
Well, also, who
Then
who is in who goes to a random YouTube channel 2 weeks after the movie is out to hear a non-spoiler review. Non-spoiler reviews are like the weekend of, maybe the first week.
Mhm.
Any reviews that come after that expect spoilers, not just from us, but anyone.
Well, I'm going to preface that this will have spoilers. Um, Now, with that being said, uh, oh crap! Now it's blocking my. I like how it starts out. I like this setting. Um, Now, there's a lot of analog tech. It's hard. It's weird to say that. Um,
Yeah, like
because I feel like
basically,
tech and analog are not like something that uh, go together.
what are you
Um,
talking about? Like basically, because it is basically 20 years after the first Alien movie. So the 70s, Alien was made in the 70s, as well as like a bunch of
mhm,
other sci-fi movies. This takes their version of future tech, essentially, where it's CRTVs, but they're doing like futuristic stuff with it. I've always liked that stuff. It's always looked like weird and interesting. Like Blade Runner has some of that
mhm.
sort of stuff where it's the future, but it's like our monitors are CRTV sort of stuff.
Yeah.
um, that stuff has always been interesting to me because it feels different. It feels unique,
Mhm.
especially nowadays. Adding that stuff to a movie, like keeping that classic feel of what they thought future tech would look like from the '70s, sort of thing. Um, I personally really liked the first 40 minutes of this. I really like the opening. It's dead quiet. Like you could hear a pin drop in the theater, sort of thing. Um, because yeah, it opens with them trying to uh, uh, extract like the somewhat, it's not fossilized, but essentially somewhat fossilized xenomorph sort of thing.
Mhm.
And it's in space, and also just minor stuff that I really like little details. The radiation suits that they wear in that sequence, it's like the first 5 minutes. The radiation suits that they wear, specifically the helmets, I really liked because it just was like weird. Because my thought is like, oh, like why wouldn't you just do rounded helmet? But I like the look of it where it's like kind of
Yeah.
squarish. There's angles to it, and I was like,
Yeah.
it just looks good. Like it, practicality, maybe it'd make more sense to be rounded, but the squarish looks good. That's all I
That's
care
what
about. Does
matters.
it look good? Yes.
um, but yeah, there was a lot of aesthetic choices that I enjoyed. Um, I think that the writing uh, premise that they set up in these first scenes was really enticing because it is a relatable idea to be like, oh, I earned this thing
Yeah.
by working very hard for this many years, and I would like to have this thing now, please. I would like to do that, and
And you
they're like,
just get
no,
screwed over. Yeah.
actually, you need another 6 years. You need another double time. Sorry, and you understand implicitly at that point that it's just going to keep going. Like
Yeah, it's
it's
just going to
not,
keep happening.
you'll never get out. That is a inescapable situation, and you would understandably be desperate to take some action into
Oh
your
yeah,
own
yeah.
hands if that comes to light. Now, I don't understand how the colonies work. I don't understand. Like, I don't have any context to that because they were able to just whoop, just
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
gonna leave. Let's leave, and they just left.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I would figure that they're allowed to explore
Well, I think the
in
reason they're allowed to explore is the nearest planet or nearest system to this one area is 9 light years away.
yeah,
So
that's
it's
what I
like,
was.
yeah, no idiot is just gonna like going because especially with where they are, they don't. The whole plot is they're trying to get the cryopod so they can
Hmm.
put themselves to sleep and put the ship in autopilot to go 9 years to where
Right,
they don't have to eat or anything. They're just asleep and essentially wake up 9 years later, sort of thing. But their
right.
bodies maintain the same. Um, so without like cryo energy and cryopods and stuff like that, it's like, yeah, essentially the people running the company running the mining planet, it's like, yeah, what idiot would just like they wouldn't survive. One, they don't
Yeah,
have the cryopods, like,
it's
and
an
even if
implicit jail.
yeah, yeah, even if they had food, there's no way they could store 9 years of food on one of our small ships, sort of thing, to keep them going for 9 years. And also,
Hmm.
9 years on a ship, not in a cryopod, I got a feeling you're going to go crazy. like that would
Yeah.
suck. So it's just one of those things where I think it's something that didn't have to be said, that you could just kind of think like, yeah, if I was like this evil company, it's like, yeah, no one's
Well, that's
gonna.
what kind of came to mind as I was saying this because I felt
Yeah,
like
yeah,
maybe there should have been that maybe they would have some kind of like security measures, but at the same time, a lot of a lot of these things in real life will take very similar security measures that are just implicit to the
yeah.
location, you know. Um, so uh, yeah, that and see that just made sense to me that
Oh yeah,
it's like um,
and sticking to that initial scene, like the mining plan and stuff like that, I thought that was like beautiful because again, that like to me harkened back to like classic sci-fi movies and stuff, and it like it wasn't this, but it kind of felt like Blade Runner, where it's like it just feels kind of futuristic. Here it's kind of like ugly and nasty and stuff, because it is just a mining planet
mhm,
where the average life expectancy doesn't go above 50 pretty much because of radiation or whatever it is dealing with what they're mining and all that. Like it talks about sicknesses that people have been getting.
mhm,
um but yeah, like just that initial thing, as well as uh good reveal with Andy. Because I knew there were synthetics in these movies. It just didn't cross my mind that he was a synthetic. And then like you see him getting beat up by the kids and stuff, and
mhm.
it's like, oh, interesting, interesting. Um, so yeah, like all of that stuff. It may have been a little slow for some people. I like that stuff. I like the building to it. I'm not in love with these characters. It's hard to make someone fall in love with characters in 15 minutes, sort of thing. But I did at least like the dynamic between
Right.
I'm gonna call her Ridley because I don't remember her
Rain.
name. Rain. Thank you. Yeah, they chose a R letter. Yeah,
Hmm.
there's as it goes on, there's stuff they do with her character that I'm not a big fan of. Just the nostalgia stuff, but
Right.
yeah, I like that dynamic between Rain and Andy. Um, so yeah, like great start to me.
Yeah. So I do like Rain, and I want to preface that I have not seen the original Alien in years. Um, and then I saw Aliens or Alien Resurrection once years and years ago, like maybe before high school. It's been a long time since I've seen these movies, and then I haven't watched all of them. And I haven't watched a lot of old '70s like sci-fi, like aside from like the original Star Wars. So um, I feel like as this goes in, there's a lot of callbacks and a lot of nostalgia and a lot of references that they try to make. That stuff doesn't really hit with me because
Yeah, yeah,
I wasn't really like
yeah, yeah.
soaking that in at the time when I very first watched it. Although it was kind of imprinted there, like I knew that it was there. Um, but and then also the characters, I didn't really grow fond of the characters
Yeah, yeah.
except for Rain, predominantly. Uh, but yes, they find a station out in space that is abandoned. I don't know if it's a ship or a satellite space station kind of
Seems like it's
thing.
like an outpost or something, but then
Hmm.
it's like kind of revealed that it's like an outpost on the books, but really it's a research facility sort of thing.
Hmm. Um, and that's where the cryostasis pods are, and the refills for those pods. So our characters go to it, and it starts out pretty slow. They're kind of setting up everything as they get in there. Um, the One thing that they did a good job with setting up is kind of the gravity um, generating uh, procedure kind of system in place on the station
Yeah,
where
for
the
setting
gravity would
up
kick
the
in.
couple things that happen later on.
Hmm. Uh, and then gravity would kick in and gravity kicks off. And I think they turned that off once they found where to do that.
Yeah.
And all the while you're watching an alien movie, so you're kind of like, "Oh, don't go
Yeah,
in
yeah.
there." Like um you kind of have a feeling that they're uh gonna pop out at any moment, and but they don't. It's kind of a slow burn in suspense, and this is one of the strong suits of this movie, is that every time you got over a moment of suspense, it introduced another moment of suspense
Yeah, yeah.
that made you kind of iffy in your seat. But the characters, on the other hand, were not the strong suit,
Oh
even
yeah, I'd agree.
not in just having a likability for them, but in which they, in the ways in which they behave, or you know what the decisions that they make. And I understand that there's some cases uh, where people are not going to be the most mentally adept to adjust to a situation,
Just
but
say it already, Austin. That girl and that guy were stupid that they let her get back on the ship and stuff.
yeah.
Which even before that happened, before that happened, even before Andy got the chip and everything and all that. Andy's the one character I consistently liked throughout this movie,
Mm-hmm.
even whenever
Yes.
he becomes bad Andy, where he's trying to he's helping guide along, but at the end of the day, what is best for the company sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Even that, Andy's the character. I might not like what he did when he was bad Andy, but he was the character where I was like, I just want to focus on Andy. Like like all of you, it's classic horror movie. All of you are getting picked off. I know it. Except Rain, you're the final girl. All of you are getting picked off. I know it's going to happen. I just want to see Andy do stuff. He was interesting to me.
Yeah.
The one character that is not human was, and I'm not saying he's extremely developed, but he was the most developed character in the movie.
Right. Well, the actor did an
He
amazing
did a
job.
fantastic job. That's what's weird about these movies is usually whoever plays the synthetic is usually the best or most memorable character.
Mm-hmm.
Prometheus and Alien Covenant, Michael Fassbender playing David. He's the most memorable part of those movies is David. You could also argue with Alien. I'm blanking on his name, but the synthetic in Alien, who it's not the same synthetic, but for some reason they used him in this movie.
Right.
It's a different name. It's like Rook or something like that.
Yeah.
Um, that that starts on the projection that this movie goes and the callbacks and the nostalgia and stuff like that. Where I was like, you didn't need to do that. I get fans are like, oh, it's him, but it's not him though. It's just
Mm.
another synthetic
It
that looks
was
like
made
him.
to look like, yeah.
Why did it have to? It could have just been any synthetic. At least with me, I like the nostalgia stuff. I like the member berries and stuff like that. But with how this movie was going, you didn't need that. At least
Mm-mm.
leading up to the reveal that oh, it's him, but it's not him. Like whenever they flip the body around, like yeah, it was one of those things where it's like, ah, okay, well maybe it's just one little nostalgic thing they do. As it goes on, though, there's a lot where I'm like, oh, I feel like it's studio interference. I don't know if the actual writer wanted all this
Mm-hmm.
member berry stuff later on.
Um. Well, again, I any nostalgia hits was not like completely there for me, so it wasn't highly distracting to me. And if the audience that went into this was a newer audience that wasn't familiar, I think that could play a big part because there are nostalgic movies I've gone to see where those aspects that they try to lean into were very distracting,
Mhm.
um, and it's even worse in a scenario in which you're supposed to be immersed and invested in the the gravity of like what the you know problem, like the earnesty, like there's a lot of actual stakes going on with what you want to be feeling. You don't want that to be tossed aside for a joke or for a moment for you to go, ooh, you know.
And not just with like character callbacks or look callbacks or scene callbacks, because there's multiple of those, and maybe I'll remember to get to those. But there's like line callbacks, like dialogue callbacks. The biggest one people recognize, even if you saw like one Alien movie, is towards the end, Andy, the gravity thing gets turned off. Andy like falls onto the alien. And he's like, "Get away from her, you bitch!" Like it's and already I didn't like the scene. I didn't like the whole elevator scene, but
Yeah.
that took me out even more because it's like it's literally what you had just said. It's these things that like you can be immersed into the movie, but once you do that, it kind of takes you out because it's like, oh yeah, I forgot. Like this is a movie, and it's referencing a previous movie,
Mm-hmm.
which in story we understand why it is. It's a member berry thing, but in story makes no sense at all.
Right.
Because one, that's not a female alien. That's not a queen.
Mm-hmm.
Unless he's just saying the B word in terms of just like, yeah, you like, but also it's just it makes no sense. And also how he delivers the line. It feels meta in how he delivers the line because he questions it.
Yeah.
It's almost
It's like he's got to
like
remember it.
yeah. Well, it's almost like his programming. He's starting to like pull out and realize this is just a movie. He's
Yeah.
starting to be like, wait, where did that line come from? Why did I just say that? It's almost like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, it's yeah. That's the the biggest example that people saw. There's also other lines. There's lines that uh, Rook says that are direct lines that his synthetic version of himself in Alien said. I can't remember specifics, but those are there were not a ton, but there were multiple lines where it's like, oh, it's just a line from another movie, and it's like, why? Like I get the people that are big into the franchise. They'll be like, oh, I remember that. I remember Barry. Like, but at the end of the day, it muddies down your story, in my opinion, because you're just relying on member berries instead of like the first 40 minutes of this, which was like, this is an alien movie, but it feels original. It's not,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it like has inspirations obviously from the previous aliens movie or previous alien movies, but it's like, no, it feels like an original story. Like, this is
Yeah.
interesting.
Well, I think that this just goes into the problem with Disney trying to own things,
Yeah.
and um, I think that the movie's way better than the last one. Because I did watch Covenant
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
few weeks ago. Um, I really had no sense of suspense. I had no sense of where's this going. I had no, um, I just wasn't all that. I wasn't all that captured by it. I was just kind of
Yeah.
watching it just to like pass the time, and it never really grabbed me beyond that point.
The bad thing for Covenant for me is I saw it in theaters back when it came out like 6 or 7 years ago. I don't remember almost anything of that movie. I remember stuff from Prometheus, which came
Yeah,
out 12 years ago. And I'm not saying Prometheus is amazing or great or anything, but it had unique stuff within it and it stuck out with me.
yeah,
Um, the stuff I remember with Covenant is a lot of the meme stuff. I remember he's holding the flute and he says kind of a weird sexual line where he's holding the flute to the other David. Um, and then him spilling all the black goo on the people from the ship. That's the only stuff I remember from that
yeah,
movie.
yeah.
Everything else I forgot.
Well, it was all like, I don't know. It didn't feel like Alien like this one
Yeah,
did. But again, that's a lot of that imprinted nostalgia that I think they were trying to hit on.
yeah,
Now there are particular things that I wanted to go into. The first in order is the first girl to get face hugged, um, and how it's just it. Part of me is like they don't know what this creature is, and they've never had to encounter this creature. And as the audience, we know exactly what has happened, and
yeah.
it's hard for me to be like, they don't understand, like, that they're all in imminent danger, you know?
That's a good
And
point. I don't think I really thought about that. Of like, now thinking about it, like, yeah, I didn't have a ton of like suspense investment because I knew the rules. I knew what
mhm,
it could do, and they don't know what it can do. And sometimes that can be fun and stuff, but it's like, oh, you're kind of wasting 20 minutes here. Like, I know
mhm,
what's going to happen. Um so like, yeah, none of them understand it, but I'm meta. I'm sitting outside of this and I understand what's going to happen and stuff. So yeah, like with that, my investment wasn't there. And also, because we know what it can do, that's the plus side. Is imagine this was the first Alien movie. We didn't know the rules. We didn't know what would happen to her and stuff. Be a lot more invested in this scene. Um, yeah, I think, and that ultimately just comes down to doing a franchise like
mhm,
this, where each one, it's new cast of characters and they get thrown into the scenario, but you as the audience watching, you know what the first at least 45 minutes will bring, because you know the rules of the alien, you know the rules of the face hugger. um, yeah, to where, because we know all that stuff ahead of time through other movies and stuff, we see her get face hugged, and we look at her and we look at the other guy and think, those are the dumbest characters ever. They're
yeah,
so stupid. But if this was on its own, if we didn't have all those other alien movies, we wouldn't think that, because we wouldn't
mhm,
know what a face hugger could do or an alien could do. But
mhm,
since we know that, it's like, oh, this is just, all right, let's speed it up, to where I don't like this. But I think the reason they do this is to speed up the process, because we know what's going to happen. This was the quickest, like chest burster, like from being impregnated to chest burster coming out. This is the quickest I've ever seen. This was within, I don't know, 30 minutes at
mhm.
most, in terms of it being on her face to little alien
Yeah,
popping out. And then, let's, within an hour, within an hour, from face hugger on face to then, it's what it is,
yeah,
vagina on the space wall,
mhm,
and full size alien coming out. It's maybe an hour in terms of their time,
yeah,
from being impregnated to full size alien. That's not how these other movies have showed this. It's usually like a day or a couple of days, that
mhm,
process sort of thing, or a few days. Um, that's an issue I have with it, is just how quickly this stuff happens. But story wise, I get it, because we
mhm,
know what happens when someone gets impregnated by a face hugger. We know it produces an alien. So let's just speed up the process. Okay, aliens here, let's get to it. So there's pros and cons with that. Um, I don't know.
yeah. I was, uh, I knew that it happened fast. Like, I knew that they could grow up fast. I just didn't. Wasn't really too familiar with it, so I wasn't really taken back by that too much. Um, but like I was saying, she's, they see a 60-40 chance of her dying
Yeah,
as a
yeah,
40% chance of her surviving, without the idea that, well, if the 60% chance that she dies comes with these whole other
yeah,
problems.
yeah, yeah.
And so I kind of felt that that was fascinating, but I also, it's like, um they have those mentors there. They have the synthetic hooked up, saying, "Look, you'll have to not take her. You can't
Yeah.
do this." Well, one of the characters had just suffered from his parents dying because of a synthetics
Yeah.
decision, and all this compounding. It's like it does make sense for them
Yeah.
to just try
Thinking about
and
it with
save
that
her,
character, yeah. It makes
and
complete sense because it seems like if there's not a romantic element between the two, she's the person he's closest to. And then, like what you said, that's a good point of, yeah, he's had the history of his mom, like, essentially being killed by a synthetic.
which seems
So,
like it was kind of the whole theme of this whole uh, movie was about the artificial intelligence,
mhm.
making human sacrifices. Um, but ultimately, it starts to feel like bad decisions once she gets in there into the ship, and she's a fever, and she's sick and all this stuff, and then she tries to run the their only getaway.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I felt a suspense in that moment.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
That's the
and
thing
then,
is I don't entirely see her actions as dumb if I
mhm,
forget about the other movies. If you
right.
just play into this is a standalone movie, which is how it should
Mhm.
be seen, but it's hard to do that sometimes. You
And
can
then,
understand her, what she's doing, as well as what there's something in the water. That guy,
yeah,
what he's doing.
um, which, man, there's so many points in the movie I wanting to get to. Um, but in that point, uh, in the where they're swimming around in the water
Yeah,
away from the face huggers, that was so nerve wracking. Because you're just like, get out, like please
yeah.
leave, get out. Um, and again, they're just not familiar with these things. But at the
Yeah.
same time, how did you not see these like eggs like dropping out and these um and but then uh Andy can't get in and doesn't have access to it, and it's just
Yeah.
there was there's I just can't get over like I feel like they did a good job with putting that together.
Oh yeah.
Another decision that I had to sympathize with um, was when they were in that ship and that thing wall vagina was on the wall, um, and the guy was like, "I'm going to supercharge this zapping thing, and hopefully it'll kill it because it is on the ship, and it they don't know that it bleeds acid, and
Yeah.
it is vulnerable. It's in some kind of egg. It's not like out, so it's like maybe if I zap it really good, it'll
Yeah.
die." And then, you know, but
Gets
we
acid spit
saw,
on him.
yeah,
Horrifying.
yeah. Um, and I like how they utilize that acid blood. I don't even think that was in the last movie. Um, the Okay, there's some points I'm going to get to later, uh, but I think that the blood from the aliens, where they turn off gravity, and they have to like kind of navigate through
Yeah.
the blood pools. Oh, I thought that was like I that was
Here
great to me.
here is where the big differing stuff happens, listener. I hated that scene because the last half of this movie goes a completely like the first half is Alien. The last half is Aliens, where it's an action movie. And I don't have a problem with an action movie.
Mhm.
You can have action in this. My issue is some of it is very like nostalgia callback. I'll get to that in a second. And then with that scene, it feels like a video game, but I'll get to that in a second. The first thing I'll mention, leading up to that scene, where Rain like comes out and she steps and she's almost doing a hero pose. She isn't doing a hero pose, but she's got the plasma rifle and stuff, and it has the shot of her, and she's wearing like the exact same clothing as Ripley.
Yeah.
It's almost like
Yeah.
they're trying to make her look exactly
That
like
was one of
Ripley.
those things where I was like, that is plain as day.
Yeah, though that's one of the things where I'm like, you can have her be cool. You don't have to do this obvious callback.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not one of those little things hidden or whatever where you used to have the YouTube videos where it's like 15 things hidden within Alien Romulus. You can't even have this be there where it's like, did you know this is actually a callback to Alien? Because everyone knows it. It's
Yeah.
You can look up Ripley Alien 1979. That's the image you're going to see. It's the exact same image with the fog and the clothing and all that stuff. I did not like that little bit. I'm trying to think when it really started going downhill for me. Honestly, I think it was the scene you're talking about. Before then, there are some member berries, but I'm not, and I don't even hate this last half of the movie, but for me, it's night and day compared to the first half. It starts going downhill when right before the acid swirl and all that, where she's shooting all the aliens. I have no problem with her shooting the aliens and stuff. I actually like the idea of the pulse rifle, the auto aim and stuff. I thought that's super interesting and stuff. How that essentially montage, I'd call it a montage. How that montage goes though is like so kind of boring to me. It's just like just the cut back and forth. It's just like and cut the aliens getting shot. Cut back, the aliens. It's 2 minutes of that. And like I understand you want to do the long bit because it's showing like actually like that, how long it is where she's just for at least 2 minutes, she's just giving it her all because there's just so many of them. It's a swarm of them. I love that. It's just how this was shot was so boring to me, where it's just aliens. They could have done the same thing where it's the swarm coming and she's mowing them down. Maybe just shoot it different or have sound design different or something. I don't know. That scene was very boring to me.
Some different like perspectives.
Yeah,
long perspective. Yeah, I could see that making it better.
And then like I like the reveal of like she does all that and then she looks and she's like, crap. Essentially, it's like, I did all that, but I have to go over there and there's just alien blood everywhere. Because listener, if you haven't seen this, I'm sure you have if you're watching this, but she had turned the gravity thing on whenever she started shooting them, because if she had shot the aliens beforehand, blood would have went through. They're on the bottom floor of the ship. It just destroy everything. They'd all die. So turn gravity on. That way she can shoot them, and the alien blood is just floating. It's not touching the bottom, essentially. So there's the reveal. It's all the alien blood there. And it's like, crap. And then at that point, in my eye, essentially that was the cut scene of her saying, crap. And then it goes back to you as the video game player. Now you have to navigate through this. I didn't like that scene because it feels, a lot of this last half feels very different than the first half of this movie, as well as that just feels like a video game to me, which can be good. But with how serious this movie was in the first half, it just feels out of place to me. It feels like two different movies, essentially, this movie.
I felt, I don't it for me it felt connected. It was as organically connected as it could be. What got them there was that stupid guy, no, that heard the pregnant woman's voice
Oh, yeah.
and was like, "Did you hear that?" And I'm like, "Y'all are so close. Get
Yeah.
out!" And he's like, "I gotta go save her." I'm like, "Oh my god, no!" And so they
I
get back in that situation where they go. That was where I did not like. I was like, "No, this is one of
them
those horror movie decisions."
them tagging along with him, I think, was dumb. But him doing that, I could see all the distress they've been under, like mentally. You're not all there, as well as like it's your sister. Like having a sibling, even if it's like if it's like it most likely isn't her, or like I'll likely not be able to make it. If there's a percentage chance though, I'll probably still try to do it, even if it ends up with me dying. Now, you two, Andy and Rain, you going with me. You guys are the dum dums. You shouldn't go with me. But they do.
Well, I felt she was so utterly doomed. Like it absolutely shocked me that they did get her out and she
Yeah,
wasn't,
yeah.
she didn't have anything in her. That was shocking to me. She didn't die of blood loss. And um I I don't maybe she was effectively supposed to be bait. Um but man, that was one of those like those decisions where I was like, she's so toast. Like, don't
Yeah,
please
yeah.
don't. And then but they go back and now they're in the situation where they have to get back through and she's got to kill all of them. And then it's like, ah, crap, it's like, oh, we killed them all, but now their blood's floating around, but it's
Yeah.
not killing the ship. And it's like, okay, so now they're in a problem. And I just felt like there was a suspense of a problem that was very immediate. They needed to get through, and then it did have all these ramifications if they didn't, um, if they did shut off the or turn on gravity. Uh, so they do have to navigate their way through all this blood, which would pretty much be impossible. Um, you know, uh, because there would probably be so many little tiny
Oh, yeah.
specks of
That are
it
like
floating around too.
separated from the other
Yeah,
piles and stuff. Yeah.
but it did. I did feel engaged and um, and interested in them having to get through that. Uh,
I think I would have been interested more in the video game, let's float through this level sort of thing, if the previous scene of her mowing them down was more interesting to me. I think
mhm.
because that scene, just the way it was shot, was just like kind of boring to me. And then they get to the video game thing. I think that's why I'm more critical on the let's swim through acid scene, is because of the previous scene, me not liking it.
Um, the So they get up the elevator, I believe, into the
Hmm.
research this part, or that might have been before the elevator, but they end
Well,
up in a lab kind of thing.
well, before that, the elevator part, I get it's part of the action, it's part of the suspense. But at this point, I'm like checked out because of nostalgia berries, as well as just like I don't know. In my opinion, with the gun shooting and all that, some like boring action stuff. They get to the elevator and it's like the turn the gravity on sort of thing, and I don't know. Like seeing previous movies, not just these, I just mean movies in general, action movies or whatever. It's like, okay, one of the aliens are going to be there. Okay, one of the aliens is there. Okay, where I had no suspense in these, because it's like I know what's going to happen,
Mm-hmm.
because you're playing on so many alien movie tropes, and then also just action movie tropes,
Mm-hmm.
which I like that. I like there are some action movies out there that are just literally, it's just a trope movie where it's like, hey, we're just harkening back to 80s action movies.
Yeah.
I like those because they just play into dumb fun. My issue with this is it's kind of dumb fun the last half. The
Mm-hmm.
first half feels very serious. It feels like
I think maybe
Alien,
more
the
people
first
should have
Alien.
survived further through the movie,
That might would help. Yeah.
because Rain kind of has the trump card,
Hmm.
and she's pretty much destined to win
Yeah,
or
yeah.
to live. And then everybody else is up on the dartboard.
Yeah.
So maybe if they had, that would have given more opportunity to flesh the characters out, and it would have added to suspense, and because they are also uh, a part of the repercussions to decisions. Um, so I think that yes, it did get kind of goofy action. If you have the, you know, only main character doing this, like it's it's like kind of obvious that she'll win.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, that wasn't my feeling. That wasn't my sense, but I completely understand that, had I been kind of a little bit more rational in the moment, um, that would have dawned on me like, duh, of course she's going to live, you know? Um, so they get into this like research part of the space station, and um, that's where the Wayland synthetic has them retrieve some kind of uh, shot, some kind of
It's
antidote.
the black goo from like
Right.
Prometheus and Alien Covenant, that
Oh,
stuff.
okay. Um, and it's supposed to like enhance the the injector.
Yeah.
They walk right past the same rat cage
Yeah, yeah.
that they saw in the video, and this cage has this busted up, you know. For one, I don't know how it died. Like, how does this rat die?
It
Um,
looked like it just exploded.
yeah. Uh, I guess they were. I guess the scientists were there to kill it.
Oh, I just
But
assumed it was the black goo, like just infected its cells and made it explode or something. I didn't
well,
think it was like the
it
scientists
was
killed
an
it.
alien. It's a that injection makes it into some kind of xenomorph. Um, and you could see the skull, and it did look like it exploded, but essentially that's supposed to just make it another version of a xenomorph. Um, so I was wondering how it died, but also how did they miss that? Like, how did they
Yeah,
walk
yeah.
right by that thing? Oh, that was a gnarly thing.
If
To
they had
just,
just been in that room for one more minute, they would have saw on the video that it exploded. We saw it.
yeah,
We stayed in
yeah.
the room. Us as the audience, we stayed in the room. We saw it explode on video. You were
Mm-hmm.
just you were like 10 seconds away from seeing that. Had you gotten into the room a little bit later, or because did they queue up the video? How did the video get queued up?
I don't know. I think Wayland synthetic guy was showing it to
Oh,
them.
okay, okay.
I think. I
I,
don't.
for some reason, I was thinking like, was it just all automatically on like replay? Like, but yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah. So if they had just stayed 10 more seconds.
Hmm. Um, but that thing was cool too. Like, that would have been a cool bad little, you know, moment of like there's this rat xenomorph going around this interior.
I'm honestly, I would have been okay with that if they changed a lot of like the action and schlocky stuff
Mhm.
before as well as after. I would have been okay with that. If they did include that, I think that's where I would have thrown up my hands where it's like, okay, it is just supposed to be dumb. This movie's just supposed to be stupid. And then I would finally accept it. Then I'd probably be like, okay, I'll just enjoy for stupidity. Like this is fun. I would like to see that. It's just
But so we go through all the action and all this stuff, and by miracle this pregnant woman has survived, and
Mhm.
she's with Ray and Andy, and she had injected herself to try and make it like just a little bit
Yeah,
longer.
because she had to get to the
And
ship by herself, and it's one of those things where like she it doesn't have to spell it out to you, but like she's been hurt pretty bad
mhm,
like earlier and as well as I think she got stabbed or something like
through the
that.
back
Yeah,
by the
so
tail.
it's all this stuff going on to where it's like, yeah, she either believes like she's not going to make it or she's in a ton of pain. It's all these factors, so it's like,
Mhm.
okay, yeah, it makes sense for her to inject herself, to try to, "Oh, okay, I got a boost,
Right.
let me make it to the ship." So yeah, I
So
was
it
okay with
does
that.
it makes sense for her to have done that. What I don't understand is why it was the baby that comes out as this you
Well,
know
they do that because that's in the previous movies. They're like that's if you are pregnant, that was something in
mhm,
Prometheus. The main character was pregnant, and David the synthetic like basically put a little bit of that black stuff in that movie. The steps are wild. David puts a drop of that black stuff in the husband's drink. The husband drinks that. Then the husband and the wife get together,
mhm,
and then that then infects her bloodstream and stuff. And then she eventually has an alien baby. Um, hers was different though. Like they had like a medical bay pod thing, and she went in. She was like, "Something's not right." Like computer
mhm.
scan. She had a C-section.
Yeah.
It was gruesome. Like I like that scene, but it is horrifying in Prometheus. So they're playing off of that of like, yes, if you as a person like got a little bit of the black goo on you, or if you injected yourself, it'll infect you. I don't know if it'll entirely make you an alien. It's going to wind up killing you. Whether you're made into an alien or not depends. But with that, with her being pregnant and stuff, injecting her, it then just affects the baby sort of thing.
Mhm.
Um,
Which I just doesn't ring to me because I'm like that should be in her bloodstream just as much as it's in the baby.
yeah,
Now,
yeah.
both of them being some a more xenomorph, terror, cool. It's
Well,
weird that it's just the baby that comes out. And
based on like this movie as well as like previous movies, it seems the black goo like affects if you're like growing, if there's growth happening or whatever, it affects that growth. And so a baby, it's like it has nothing but like growing to do. So it's going
stem
to affect
growth,
them a
yeah.
lot to where it might affect her eventually. Um, but might take longer as well as I don't, based on previous movies, I don't think
Well,
someone
it
did
turned
get like
the
black goo.
implications is that it turned the rat into something because that rat was just a gnarly mess of
The rat just looked like it
so
exploded to me. I don't know if it turned into an alien.
it
So maybe
turned
she
into
would have
something.
exploded. there,
So
there was in Prometheus, there was someone that did get infected with it, and they, for what I remember, they still look human, but I think it just like mentally just it's almost like a parasite taking
Mm.
over their brain sort of thing. That's what I kind of remember from Prometheus. Um, so either her brain would be eventually taken over, or she would explode. One of the two.
Well, me and my girlfriend had deemed the uh, creature to have come out, the baby, as Big Rodney.
That
So
is
Big
the
Rodney
thing.
comes out.
That is the thing that I like truly like about the
Hmm.
last half of this movie is I like the creature and what they do. This literally half human, half xenomorph thing. It's horrifying
Yeah.
to look at. It's terrifying to look at. I loved it. I loved seeing that.
Have you seen that guy in real life?
Yeah, yeah. I saw
He
the
looks like
pictures.
that.
He looks scary. they, they, they it really just looks like they applied some stretchy like rubber and latex just to him. Like they
Yeah.
just stretched it over him, added like some flaps, and it's like, all right, you're good to go. We give you a tail. All right, there we go.
But yes, that did do a good job of kind of igniting that horror flame, because it was kind of stealthy, and while it was growing, and it grew rapidly also.
Mhm.
Um, I as that point came along in the movie, I was starting to go, okay, this movie's getting kind of too long. I
Oh
started to
yeah, yeah,
feel like, man, how many scenes are they going to have? But it was a good scene,
yeah,
and it ended after that. So I was like,
yeah.
awesome.
I'd agree that there were multiple points where I thought it was going to end. I thought it was going to end when they get on the ship before all
Hmm.
the crazy baby alien stuff, which I'm happy the crazy baby alien stuff happened. Um, but it was one of those things where I'm seeing multiple instances where it's like, and it ends here. Okay, no, it doesn't. And it ends here. Okay, no, it doesn't. So I think that's a little issue with pacing. Because you could do a 2 hour alien movie and you're along for the ride the whole time, but for some reason this is 2 hours, and I'm okay if it was 2 hours. It just I don't know. There's a lot of points where I was like, okay, here we go, end right here. So I don't know. Maybe structure the ending a little bit better. Keep the alien baby though. That's the number one thing I like with this last half. I like alien baby. Um,
I did enjoy. Also, I got to bring this up. The where they up the temperature to match their body heat, and so that they could walk through uh, all the face huggers.
yeah, yeah,
And I really like how they highlighted the face huggers being such a predominant threat, and giving them kind of a limelight for a little bit.
yeah, yeah.
Um, and then that was also one of those moments in time where I was like, shut up.
Yeah, yeah. I
Shut
was
up.
literally about to say that. Like I understand your sister's in like peril and stuff, but even me, like I had mentioned before, the previous thing where he's went through all this stuff, he hears the sister calling. This is a later scene we had talked
Hmm.
about. Here's a sister calling, and he'll go and get them. I understand that. Rain and Andy tagging along, I think, was stupid, but I understand that. This though, where he's talking in the midst of all these, like, even if that's my sister, I understand this isn't the time.
Hmm.
Like, she's in peril, but also if I say anything, we're all going to die right now. So I
Yeah.
won't be able to help her. If I could just wait 30 seconds and cross this field of face huggers, then I'll get on my radio and talk to
Hmm.
her.
I was
So
like,
yeah, that was dumb.
she should have been on her own trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
I would have been like, click. But it did do some movement into the situation. Um, I don't know what would have been more satisfactory, them getting successfully through it, you know, all the way, or them having to, you know, cut it short halfway through. Because it kind of feels like, well, they should have just ran the whole time or something.
Right, right.
But I did like how he threw the torch, and that distracted them for a little
Yeah,
while.
yeah.
I would have tried to find other things that would do that. Um, Again, just the mechanics of like the aliens using that to the advantage of the horror. I like that,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
or to the suspense. I like them using that because, like you said, we know how all this works. Um, but can they keep it together to like, you know, get through that situation? So
Yeah.
um, I just had some kudos for the way that they used those alien mechanics at some points. Um, but yeah, that's all I have for the movie. Uh, I do see a lot of your points, um, especially if I was like hearing all these callbacks and stuff.
And that's the
I
thing.
would have been like,
I'm not even a big Alien guy. Like I've seen
mm-hmm,
Alien, I haven't seen Aliens, I haven't seen Alien 3, I haven't seen Resurrection, I haven't seen any of the Alien versus Predator. I've just seen Alien, Prometheus, and Alien Covenant. And I haven't seen any of those movies in like a few years.
mm-hmm,
Um, but with me being able to pick up all that stuff, that tells me fans of these movies, which I am a fan, but I'm not like ride or die Alien
right,
franchise. There are people out there. There's people out there for every franchise. Um, I'm sure they like that stuff, the nostalgia stuff, but even like the stuff I really care about, the franchises I really care about, I don't want to see callbacks and member berries all the time. I want something
yeah,
new. Like
yeah,
it is literally what you said at the beginning of this of Disney just trying to make it the most like marketable thing they can. And a way to do that is let's have callbacks, let's have member berries. That way we get a little bit of everyone in
mm-hmm,
to see this movie. If you've never seen an Alien movie, this is fresh to you. So you don't recognize those callbacks and it's like, oh, like this is new and stuff.
mm-hmm,
If you've seen those Alien movies, it seems like everyone likes the callbacks and stuff. So it's like, ooh, member berries. Um, to where if they didn't have all these callbacks and member berries and it was a slower movie like the first half where it feels like Alien, the threat will be one alien or multiple aliens or multiple face huggers. Um, but we still tread along. It's not video game
mm-hmm.
levels and
Right,
stuff. It's not Uncharted cutscenes. Like I love the game Uncharted, but there's the elevator thing feels like sci-fi Uncharted.
mm-hmm,
Um, but yeah, I don't know. If my what I would have liked of this would not make the box office, I think it people would like it, but then there'd also be fans of it who would be like, "The heck, what is this?" Like it didn't do the callbacks enough. It didn't do
mm-hmm.
this enough or whatever. So Disney played it safe to a degree. Um, man, I would have loved to see this movie not be made by Disney. Um, it is entertaining, um, but it's like I think we said this either before or maybe I'm just imagining conversations in my head. Um, but Disney a lot of times, like let's say their original movies as well as Star Wars, Marvel, this like aliens and stuff like that. Usually it's meh to eh. that was good. That was pretty
Yeah,
good. It's they can't hardly ever put out anything where it's like that was great,
right.
that was amazing, because
Like
they
Logan.
play it so safe.
Hmm.
They play it so, yeah. That's a good point. As much as people want to rag about Fox and the Fox
Hmm.
movies and stuff, Disney would not have been able to make a Logan. That's a very good point. Disney, it would have basically been the same movie, but it would have been lesser because we have to appease everyone. We have to appease to all our markets
Yeah.
outside the United
We can't
States.
have Xavier going senile.
Yeah, yeah, we can't have
We can't
that.
have him die. We can't
Yeah,
have a suicide bombing. We can't
yeah, yeah,
have,
yeah.
this
It's
cursing.
yeah. That's my issue with just Disney owning everything now. Is everything is either meh to it's pretty good. But even if it's pretty good, it's like, but that's the max. That's the max you can do. Like pretty good doesn't make my top 50 or top 100 movie
No,
list. It's something I'll
no.
remember. If someone brings up this movie, I'll be like, "Oh yeah, I remember that scene. That was really cool and stuff." It doesn't like impact me in any way. And I'm not saying an alien movie needs to impact me. I'm not saying a Marvel movie needs to shape my life or anything. But it
Right.
it just it feels different than what cinema can do. Cinema
Hmm.
can move you. And I think most of the Marvel stuff, or not Marvel, Marvel's part, most of the Disney stuff just doesn't have that impact or that oomph because they are playing it safe and they're scared to do some of this sort of
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah. No, I get you. Um, with this Alien movie in particular, I think I'm going to stick with an 8 out of 10 for me, just because it was just so fun for me to watch. Um, it's it's kind of like um, Alien versus Predator for me. Uh, it was like I love a good monster in a movie. If there's a
Mhm.
monster in the movie, I kind of want to see it a lot.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And that and it kind of has to, if I it depends too, if like I'm trying to go for like more horror, it needs to be more obscure, more hard to see. I think kind of like Cloverfield. I think Cloverfield was a
Right, right.
good monster you get to see in its fullest at times briefly, but for the large part it's kind of a mystery. um but like an alien movie, I'm kind of like, so the alien number one introduced us to aliens,
Yeah, yeah.
and the face hugger and introduced us to this creature that's just absolutely horrific and cool. Now I want to see more of them, but
Yeah,
I
yeah.
also want it to be kind of horrifying. So like
Yeah, yeah.
I feel like this alien movie did a good job with having set up horror and set up the practicality of like all their situations, and using the mechanics of the aliens, and also putting a lot of them in there. With the There's just a saturation of aliens that I kind of enjoy, just to a point. And I just kind of have a love that it kind of satisfied me in
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
thirst for that kind of stuff. Like Alien versus Predator, not a very great movie. There was a lot of action slock in it. Wasn't horror, but man, I got to watch Predator and Alien duke it
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
Like, oh yeah, and the
Yeah, that's
theater
my feeling
experience
with
for
yeah,
that.
that's my feeling with like Freddy versus Jason. It's like it's not entirely feeling like those horror movies, those original horror movies. It plays
Mhm.
into what those series became later on, where it is just like fun, but fun
Mhm.
deaths. That's what those series became later on. Freddy versus Jason objectively is not a good movie. Subjectively is a fun movie to me. Um,
Right.
it's not good, but man, is it fun.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, that's my review. I think it was a fun watch, and there are definitely some problems that were brought to light, and there are problems that I don't feel as somebody who is highly familiar with the Alien franchise. There were definitely imprints visually, but like some lines and faces and stuff, I wasn't too like reminiscent or familiar with, so they didn't affect me too bad. I
Yeah.
can understand being pulled out of you know, the suspense if there's a stupid line or something that's just placed there just because you know they're trying to get you with it. Um, so,
It's the
but
line
yeah,
where you turn to your neighbor in the theater like, oh, he said the thing. He said the thing. That's what they're trying to do.
that was fun in the Spider-Man movie. I
Yeah.
don't, you know, it's not. What was another one that I feel like we reviewed for the theater? Oh, the Deadpool versus Wolverine one.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, kind of the same situation. It's like these are fun movies, and the callbacks are kind of funny, so it's like okay, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
but uh, I don't
But
want that to
Disney,
infect horror. You know,
as I'll say, Disney, you don't have to do that with every single property you have. Like you can have some feel kind of standalone-ish, even though it is a part of the Alien franchise. I'm not speaking specifically on Alien, just in general. It can you don't have to muddy it down with all the member berries and stuff. They can
right?
it can stand on its own. Um,
Well, do you have any final words?
my final words, my personal rating, if I were to give it like a 1 to 10, maybe a 6 out of 10. I think it's fine. I don't think it's a bad movie. I
Right.
wouldn't say it's a bad movie at all. Um, I don't like it. I don't love it, but I think it's fine. Um, I really, really like the first 40 minutes though. It's fine. So maybe 6 out of 10, maybe like 5.5.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's overall it's entertaining. Even the last half, even though my eyes are glazed over because it's like let's just throw in a bunch of action crap and the action not even be interesting. Um, uh, even with that, it's still entertaining. So
All right. Well, thank you, Brandon, for joining me tonight. Um, I'm Austin Light with American Demon Comics, and if you're interested in reading any of my comics, I do have them up on AmericanDemonComics.com. And I am joined with Brandon Ingram with Dismay Comics, who is also a creator, and he has his comics coming up available soon uh, for the context of September 2024 with a Kickstarter. So be on the lookout for that. But thank you for being with me, Brandon.
oh yeah, that's been fun. Yeah, check out all our stuff. We have various stuff. We got a Halloween comic we just finished. So if you're at any of the conventions Austin is at, you'll be able to get those. Um, if you back the Gallows Man Kickstarter, I'll just throw it in there um, because
A
it's
nice
a
little treat
yeah nice
for
little
all you
treat.
lovely
Um,
backers.
if hey if it's like I don't care about the Gallows Man, I just want that. You can justify it by saying I'm backing this Kickstarter, but I really just want the mini comic. That's fine as well.
All right, everyone. Uh, yeah, thanks for watching. That's it.
Take care.
See ya.